In the year 1997, the future is in chaos and turmoil. Mankind is on the brink of extinction. Brave survivors band together and build a time displacement apparatus to receive a signal from a parallel future. This transmission is the Vundacast.
There's one team that kicks ass. They're assembled. They're the Vundacast. Never back down from the brass. Always start first. Never finish last. Had max speed. Bit too fast. Oh no, they're out of gas. It's okay there. Just a podcast. They're the greatest. We're the Vundacast.
Welcome to the Vundacast, the official podcast of Vundablog.com, the home of whatever, and the podcast that knows that when your dog starts whimpering in fear and not just going insane and barking at whatever's outside, that you're probably already going to die. I am your host, Steven. With me today is the perfect dog couch, Danielle,
My dog is on my lap. That's what he means.
Duke of the At Midnight Hounds, settling in for this podcast. All the other horror hounds laying their heads. And with us also this evening, the master moderator of the Vundacast, at Vundacast Twitter account, D-Rock.
Hi. D-Rock, world heavyweight champion of the non-binary world.
How art thou?
I'm good. I've been working on a second draft of a story that's starting to come together. It's probably going to be a totally different story, which is cool, I guess. I don't know. This is like the first time I've ever actually gotten to the rewrite stage and actually done it instead of been like, no, I'm going to start a new project. Fuck that. Yeah, it's fun.
That's
So,
the hard
we'll
part,
see how that
probably.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
Revision is
So I never do it because it's so hard.
revision is a pain in the ass. It's like, oh look, I vomited out a bunch of crap, but now I have to look at it 500 times.
Yeah.
I have to keep fixing it.
Yeah, especially like this story, I was like really kind of just throwing shit against the wall and seeing what would stick. And so now it's kind of good because I don't really have to keep most of it. But that also means that I have to rewrite basically, the whole thing.
You have to get a whole new whatever.
Well, at least you have horror movies this week to distract you.
Yes, indeed I do. Thank you for keeping us on track.
So where do you want to start? What have you been watching?
Where to start? I guess we'll start. We left off last Friday, and then Saturday was slasher day for me. Actually, that included Trick or Treat. I thought I guess we were gonna end on that, but we can start with it. I don't know. Whatever. Let's roll with it.
Throw out the playbook. Call it audible. We saw Trick or Treat for our Carving Pumpkins Day, which was our day 15 yesterday.
That was actually kind of a fun
Which
day.
was a really fun day.
Yeah, it was a fun day.
It turned into a fun day.
Nice.
It was a tough day to figure out what movies to watch.
Because there's not a lot of movies especially if you haven't seen them. Do you know if there are people that carve pumpkins in them?
Right.
You
Yeah.
haven't seen the movie already. Trick or
Yeah.
Treat's the movie that I saw when it first came out, and I just was really disappointed by. And for years, I've had the lowest opinion of this movie.
Interesting.
And you know what? I think it's pretty decent. I think it's pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
Little dumb movie. It's so Hollywood.
It is.
Yeah. For the first 20 or 30 minutes, I was like, this movie is bad. And then it started to kind of come together, and they got to like Rhonda's story, and Rhonda is amazing. I love Rhonda, the little like nerdy witch girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's adorable.
Story with the kids that keep on pranking her, and then she's like, "Fuck you, kids." That was great.
I think what I noticed that I liked this watch around, because I've also seen it before, was I really liked the set design. So I loved Rhonda's house with all the pumpkins in front of it. I thought that was just a spooky thing. And you underestimate that nowadays, you know, because there's so many, like, you can do lights and all these kind of frilly things, but there's just something really effective about a crap ton of jack-o'-lanterns.
Yeah.
That pretty orange glow is just very Halloween-y and very effective. So
Totally.
I liked that. And I still enjoyed the Anna Paquin segment where she's a werewolf. And I really like that segment. I think that it was a cool little turnaround. And I liked how it connected to the serial killer principle. So
Right.
that part I enjoyed. And I don't know, I love the fact that the little trick-or-treat, whatever he's called, I don't know what he's called.
Yeah.
What's he called? Just the
I'll look it up.
The little puppet boy. The little puppet boy. I really enjoy the fact that, yes, he will kill you really bad, but if you just give him candy and respect Halloween, he really won't. Like, if you just
Right.
give him, like, candy, like, that's the thing. That's a whole moment where he, like, takes candy from the guy, and it's just like, just give him candy and respect the season, and that's it. Just
I also love that his murder weapon is just like a particularly sharp piece of candy that he bit into.
His name is Sam.
Sam.
Damn. Okay.
Just Sam.
That's kind of anticlimactic. I was hoping he'd be like
Sam.
the puppet.
Little puppet boy.
He's just a little
Yeah.
Sam.
Well, you know what's funny is I'm saying, like, nowadays, I was telling Steven, we were talking about it, the fact that, are you okay? I think we're having some cutout.
We're
No? Okay.
No.
The fact that the only thing that's really stuck in terms of popularity from that movie is Sam, the little puppet boy.
Oh yeah.
Because no one remembers any other part of that movie, but they remember
Really?
him. And yeah, if you go to Spirit Halloween, they have his costume and stuff. And that's kind of had a resurgence in popularity in recent years. But
Oh wow.
no one talks about the movie itself. Everyone just talks about him.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because, like, thinking back to the movie now, like the parts with Sam, I think, are probably the least memorable for me. Like the werewolf ladies are fucking super memorable, and the psycho serial killer dad who's like carving a person's head with his son, and that shit's rad. And Rhonda, I mean, I love Rhonda. Rhonda's like my favorite character. But yeah, and I liked how the Anna Paquin story, like, that was part of why at the beginning I was kind of like, it was kind of like just like sort of cliche teen movie up until like, and they go away from that story for a really long time too, to get into like other stuff, and then they like finally come back around to it. It, like, at first it felt kind of like it didn't know what direction it wanted to go, but by the time it like gets to the end and wraps everything up, you're like, oh no, it definitely was going in a particular direction. And it kind of ties everything together. And that's a cool, I like anthologies like that where like it's all one story, but it's 4 different stories or however many stories it was.
Oh yeah, see, look, they just released a pop figure of Sam with a little pumpkin and a sack. See? I'm showing Derek a picture because we have video. But you
Nice. Oh, look at that. Nice.
So yeah, I actually would rewatch it again, and I think the visuals especially are extremely, just got me in a very Halloween mood very fast.
For sure, yeah. The design of what's under Sam's mask is delightful and ridiculous, and I loved it. Yeah,
one
it was
problematic-
a fun, dumb, like fun movie. I liked it a lot.
The one problematic thing about the movie that me and Dani cringed at was all of the special needs kids that are just like hidden behind masks and you never see their faces. And the kid is so dumb that he couldn't drive in the correct direction and ended up killing themselves before the bus driver could kill them.
No, I mean we gotta name it out for the fat phobia. Like,
oh yeah, there was also
just kills that kid because he's fat.
He's fat, yeah.
He's fat and he's got stuff on his face, and then they just like make fun of how heavy his body is.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, this huge child I've murdered, and I'm like, you know. But what are you gonna do?
I always love when fucking Brian Cox randomly shows up in crazy ass movies like this. Yeah. Like he'll just take a role and be like, oh yeah, this I'll fucking do this for sure.
Why did he have a fake nose on?
Because they don't want you to know it's Brian Cox. They want to just
it's
be
a
like,
secret?
It's a secret that you have to figure out. I don't know.
Yeah,
He probably said, put a fake nose on me. I want to be funny looking. Like, he probably said
No, they were like, Brian Cox, you have to look like this bus driver in this photo. He's better looking than you.
Wait, is he supposed to be the bus driver?
Yeah, he's the bus driver.
Yeah.
That's why all the kids come after him at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. That makes so much more sense.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing is I think if it's your first time watch, the movie is a lot harder to digest. I think the more you watch the movie, perhaps the better it will become.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah. So that was one of my favorite days that we had was our Carving Pumpkins Day. We saw Trick or Treat to start the day. We saw this very suspenseful movie on Netflix called The Guest.
Yeah, so we got stumped as to what next Carving Pumpkin movie to watch because I didn't want to watch Halloween because for whatever reason, that is one of my least favorite John Carpenter movies ever.
Oh, wow.
I just don't like it. People are always like, what's wrong with it? I'm like,
It's Jamie Lee Curtis, come on.
I just don't like it. I think it's boring.
It is kind of the same thing over and over, I will say. I love Halloween, but it is the same thing over and over.
So we ended up finding this movie on Netflix called The Guest.
It was recommended by Nightmare on Film Street podcast.
And it stars Dan Stevens, the guy who played like Beast, and he was just recently in that Will Ferrell Eurovision movie as like the Russian singer dude. And I basically spent the whole movie thirsting. He was really hot in that movie. That's basically what I got. Like hot.
Yeah. And we don't want to give away any spoilers about it so that people watch it.
Because it kind of requires you to go in totally blank.
But it's just about a family that gets a visit from a guy who apparently knew their deceased son in the army and is coming to like fulfill a last request. Yeah. And then things go weird.
It definitely goes a direction that you don't think it's going to go. You kind of question what the genre is going to be in it. And then by the time you get there, you're like, oh, okay, and you follow it. But I don't know. I just loved him because it was so weird because his character was just so wholly likable. Like, he was just really likable. He was just a really likable character.
Nice.
And then we watched this movie, this other anthology movie from 2015 called Tales of Halloween.
Oh, yeah, we
I've heard of that.
Was pretty fun.
Yeah.
It has a ton of horror cameos from directors and other people doing bit parts. And it's a who's who of like young Hollywood.
Yeah, there were some shorts by Darren Boosman and now all I remember is Darren Boosman.
A whole bunch of people. It was like 9 shorts.
Yeah.
All strung together. It wasn't as tight as Trick or Treat.
No.
But a lot, there was like, it had the highs and lows of having really good shorts and then really maybe meh shorts.
And, well, I mean, it was also more of a horror comedy, so it stuck with that kind of theme, which was good for it, I think. Some of the directors are Adam Gierschak, Dave Parker, Paul Soleil, Axel Carolyn, Lucky McKee, Andrew Cash. Yeah, those people.
A lot of horror people.
A lot of horror people.
And then we closed out our Carving Pumpkins night with the Addams Family.
Nice.
1991, little Raul Julia fun times, which, was a great way to go to sleep.
Oh, man, and that movie's still so good. And
I've never seen it, actually.
What?
I know, yeah. I need to see that.
That's a crime. You must watch the Addams Family.
That's homework.
Addams Family 1 and 2. Addams Family 1, and then Addams Family Values are amazing. They're just there's just so much to love about those movies, but especially the one we just watched. Just the set design is so lush.
Mm-hmm. The camera work is just amazing.
It's so great.
And then just all the performances are fun.
Yeah, it's still really funny. And everyone is just hamming it up, and it's the best. And Christina Ricci's honestly one of the most adorable little girls ever. I forgot how cute she was when she was a little girl. She's just precious. So it's just so good as Wednesday.
And it's aged well from what I've heard too.
Yes, it has. It has aged well. Because the Addams Family, the thing about the Addams Family is I was thinking about this in my head while I was watching it, that it lends itself very much to kind of a queer horror analysis, because their characters are just so open. And what's funny is in the 90s and especially in the 60s, when they existed, they were considered freaks because they were so alternative and so odd. But I'm watching it and I'm these people are just open and willing to have a good time. And the most odd thing about them obviously is their sort of preoccupation with the gruesome and the macabre. But there really is a lot of analysis you can do that lends itself to just how free kind of form they are, especially in terms of ideas of gender and ideas and and they're just, it's just
body positivity.
There's I think Pugsley is one of the few fat little boy characters that I never felt anybody was making fun of Pugsley for being fat. He was chubby, but it never was centered around his chubbiness. It never was, look how much Pugsley can eat, or he can't run. There were no jokes like that about his weight in terms of that. And it was just the family is just very, and so I think, it ages well, because it's kind of odd that the idea that a family full of people who don't give a crap what you look like or what you do was considered so strange and unsettling.
Yeah, right.
So basically we're saying what's normal is to be a judgmental asshole, but these people are the real freaks.
The
fun.
The non-prejudiced can't be trusted.
Yeah, that's why it's aged well, because it is very much like that. They just don't care. They don't care what you like. They do their own thing. They're very chill.
Nice. Yeah, I gotta check that out.
So we also got to enjoy a movie that you recommended to us. We had a cam day.
Yeah.
And we watched Blair Witch 2, Book of Shadows.
Which doesn't really have that much shaky cam, but
it has
enough.
It has plenty of
all
shaky
the
cam.
VHS footage that they're watching is shaky.
Yeah.
And that they're traveling.
Mm-hmm.
It's better. It's really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
He likes it better than the actual original Blair Witch.
Really?
I would rather watch that than the Blair Witch Project.
I mean, it's definite. I can definitely see it being more watchable for sure. I mean, it's a dumb, terrible movie, but it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot to chew on for sure.
I just think it's more Steven's style, because I'm this movie's so terrible, but I'm yeah, I see what Steven likes.
But there's a lot of nudity. There's a lot of really wacky performances.
Helping your case right there. There's a lot of nudity.
There's a lot of nudity. There's a lot of wacky performances. Okay, it has a twisty plot. if I watch it again,
Mhm.
I can watch it now from a new perspective, having known
Right.
twists, you know?
That's kind of what I was.
Watch-
Well, this is probably like the third or fourth time I've seen it, but yeah, watching it and knowing like what ultimately happens, and like knowing all along that they all like actually did, that they're in the interrogation room for doing, is like really interesting.
I'll give that movie props. I know this is a very I find odd things to give movies props for, but I'll give this movie props. So like the whole concept is it's a tour group, and this guy is taking these people on a tour group, and then obviously something freaky happens to them, and they all, they have that night of bonding, something freaky happens to them, and then they all go to his place because they have nowhere to stay. And a lot of times in movies with like strangers, or even when they're apparently friend groups, horror movies, they all act like they hate each other, and it's really weird. But I kind of enjoyed the fact that they just so quickly bonded, and I'm like, that's actually a lot more realistic. Like when you sort of throw yourself into sort of a wacky situation with a bunch of strangers, you kind of bond fast because you have to like that's why they have all, when they do those experiences and people are like, I made the best friends in a week. It's like you throw yourself into sort of an odd situation and you can become and I liked the way that they were kind of very quickly connected. And then of course it fell apart again, as the movie progressed. But that felt natural. It fell apart because like weird, crazy crap was going on, and they were like losing their minds,
But also like, and on top of the fact that they didn't actually really know this guy, or he didn't know them, and they didn't really like trust each other. So when shit goes down, like it makes it a lot easier and more believable that these characters would start turning on each other and not trusting each other.
Not that they're a bunch of friends and family.
I also love, like, this is like a very late 90s, early 2000s trope.
Yeah.
To have main
there's
characters
so many of those in this movie.
To have main characters who are like into horror movies and know what horror cliches are coming. So I really like the goth character, Kim Diamond, played by Kim Director, and the main character played by the guy from Burn Notice. What's his name?
We couldn't figure this out last time.
Jeffrey Donovan.
Jeffrey Donovan.
Jeffrey Donovan, that's
But
what it
for
is.
some reason, I think every character is named after themselves
Oh yeah, yeah.
To make
I
it
love
to make it easy for them.
I also the another thing that's like super late 90s and early 2000s is that one chick that's like a Wiccan and is always like high and mighty explaining to people how Wicca is not about trick or treat.
That was definitely like an early 2000s thing.
Oh,
like,
for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when everyone learned that the dude from Godsmack was a Wiccan, and then everyone got like super into it.
Craft came out. Honestly, I'm serious. The Craft came out. The Craft influenced a lot of young girls to be like witchcraft, which we talked about this in the last podcast.
No, we haven't.
We didn't talk about it?
No, we saw only Good Witch on our last podcast.
Oh, that's right.
So we also saw The Craft the day after our last podcast.
I decided to do some research, and there was an actual. This is probably one of the few movies they consulted a real Wiccan priestess. She's like a high priestess, and that's what ends an air of authenticity to the movie. I'll look up my Twitter thread to get her name, but it's really cool because she actually helped contribute a huge amount to that movie.
Nice.
Because she actually helped craft the script, not just like the authenticity of the spell work and how they would like do certain things, but like actually helped write the ending. Because hold on, I want to get my.
She needs to go to @CardiganVixen on Twitter.
Here we go.
Where
Okay.
she puts her best thoughts ever.
Pat Devin is the name of the Wicca priestess who helped give the movie, who helped consult on the movie. And she was very nervous about doing the movie because, you know, she thought it's going to be a smear campaign against witches and it's going to be ridiculous. But she was very pleasantly surprised that the writer of the story already kind of came from a place of respect and didn't come from a place of silliness. So she was able to work with him a lot better. So the end of the movie of The Craft, you know, I'm going to assume everyone's seen it. Nancy obviously attacks why can't I remember her name?
Because
my mind.
her name is for her character.
My mind.
No,
Nancy's Feruza Balk. I'm talking about
Robin.
Thank you.
Robin Tunney.
Robin Tunney's character. I can't remember her
Okay, don't worry about
character's name. Anyway, Robin Tunney's character. So she, like, you know, Nancy attacks her and Nancy goes on the defense against her and they kind of have like a witch battle. And at the end, Nancy's powers are bound so she can't harm anyone, and then she gets sent to a mental institution. Well, the male writer of the story, his original ending was to kill Nancy, to literally get her impaled on a stake.
Even though during the movie, her like stepdad grabs her butt and she's in a broken home.
Pat Devin, the Wicca priestess, she's like this. You know, after reading about the fight ended up dead, she's like, this led to a very long Post-it note from me to Andy, which was the writer, to the effect that Nancy, who had been abused, neglected, molested, and finally driven mad by attempting more than she was prepared for, was not intrinsically evil and did not deserve to die. Andy agreed and changed that. And I think that's like, that just made me so happy because I'm just like, oh, where was that when Star Wars was getting made? Sorry, I mentioned the evil S word. I apologize.
You can now finish your drink because we brought up the Rise of Skywalker.
No! But yeah, so, but yeah, no, I appreciate, like, someone seeing that perspective. It's true. Nancy is a character that, even with kind of how they parsed it down in the movie, Nancy comes from a very tough situation. She's from a broken home. She's from an abusive home. Her mother's obviously an alcoholic. You know, she's got a lot of crap going on. So her desire to kind of have all this power comes from a place of desperation. It doesn't come from a place of evil. So I really appreciate Pat's contribution. And she was very careful to not have an actual god. So Manon, the name of the god in the story, at the time of her like doing the research, she could not find a god or deity named Manon anywhere. And so that's why she stuck with that name, because she didn't want little teenagers trying to conjure something they weren't supposed to conjure. And obviously being Wiccan and, you know, truly believing in it, she didn't want to risk that. So I was really glad to rewatch it because I got to like kind of re-experience the craft again, and that was very interesting.
Nice.
I'll post a link to the interview in the show notes because I think.
Yeah, that's cool.
What you got on deck?
The other, just quickly, the other movie I did for my slasher day was Prom Night. I finally got around and watching the original Prom Night, which was pretty good. I can see why it's like a cult favorite and not like a bigger deal than it is. Like, I can see how it's like influential and also like not particularly well executed in a lot of places. Disco music over everything was a little weird. That's kind of a weird choice, I thought. And the way that they like shoot the killer and the way that he's like portrayed is, I mean, it's weird. Like, it made sense. It made sense with the ending, I guess, but it was still a very odd way to kind of frame up like there's not a lot of mystery around the killer. Like, they show the killer full flush a lot, and like there's not a lot of sneaking around, and the killer is like a very like small frame, so he's not very menacing. But I mean, it makes sense at the end when you find out who the killer is. which I'm not gonna spoil this 40-year-old movie for anybody. But
Who's the killer?
who's the killer? You want the spoiler?
I want to know. I want to remember.
It's okay. Anybody who is not wanting to be spoiled, please cover your ears for about 10 seconds. The killer is the brother. It's her brother.
Whoa.
Whoa! So it's the Halloween 2 twist. Way to go.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
kind of, but
It's
like,
just- Prom Night, I think, is a movie that if Jamie Lee Curtis wasn't the star of the movie,
right.
it wouldn't be remembered
At all.
as much as it is. You know.
I mean, there's a few devices that it uses that I can see how they were like influential, but a lot of the rest of the movie is just like not really that well executed. And yeah. So that was all right. I enjoyed it, but it didn't really live up to my expectations. And then Sunday was my B-movie day. That was the day I watched Book of Shadows. And I also rewatched. That was a kind of a rewatch day for me because I love B-movies anyway. So I also rewatched Snakes on a Plane. It gets better every time. Oh my god!
I've only seen it once. I need to rewatch it. So if there's like
remember we went to the midnight showing.
yes,
And it was like
it was wild in that room. That room was.
The thing I always remember about that movie is the famous Samuel L. Jackson line comes like at the weirdest time possible.
It's
right at the moment where they're like, oh, we figured out a way that we can like this guy can land the plane and great. And then he just goes, that's it. I've had it with these motherfuckers. It's like, what? Why is he angry right now?
That's because the internet wrote the line. It wasn't
exactly
in the movie.
It wasn't?
But they still found a better place for that.
No, that line was never supposed to be in the movie.
Are you serious?
And then when the movie was announced, somebody on, I believe, Reddit
of course
said
No way.
Sam Jackson better say,
get these
motherfucking snakes off this motherfucking plane. And then they put it in the freaking movie.
That's why it looks so disjointed, because it's just him standing in front of a set or something by himself. Because it's such a close shot of him doing it.
Yeah, it is.
And it doesn't come from any sort of like, oh my goodness.
The marketing was so good.
But there's still like so many other better places to put that line, like throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Like,
That's the climax
where they feel like they're overwhelmed by the snakes.
Part of the problem is, does he actually have anybody on that plane that he cares about, like, emotionally?
Right. Well, his partner, and he dies.
Okay, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's got to have a moment. Like, it would have been better if it had been in a moment where, like, he had lost something or someone attacked someone he loved, and then he's like,
Isn't Keenan the pilot?
Connections that anybody has in that movie are people who have the hots for each other beginning when they meet on the plane. That's it. That's the only emotional connection there is, except for Sam Jackson and his partner. And his partner dies like almost immediately when the snakes start coming.
it's amazing.
Doesn't Keenan fly the plane?
Yeah, Keenan Thompson flies the plane because he has a fucking flight simulator video game on his PSP that he has like.
Right. He's sitting in the plane. He's playing his game the whole time, and then he has to land the plane because the pilots are all messed up. Yeah.
So funny.
Oh,
David Ketchner is one of the pilots who is like sexually harassing everybody in sight. That's his only character, is sexual harassment man.
made that movie.
Oh my god, yeah. And I remember the people making the movie wanted to change the name to like Transatlantic Flight 237 or something, and Sam Jackson was like, I will quit this movie right now if you do not name it Snakes on a Plane.
That's amazing.
I know.
That is amazing. David R. Ellis.
Did he ever go on to make a Star Wars? No?
No.
Damn it.
He made Homeward. He made a lot of twos. Homeward Bound 2, Final Destination 2.
He specializes in sequels.
He made Final Destination and Shark Night. I don't know what Shark Night is.
Shark Night.
That was the last thing he made. Shark Night.
So B movie. I had my 2 favorite days back to back too. It was great. I had B movie day on Sunday, and then Monday was my found footage day. That was a lot of fun. And I was torn about whether I wanted to do some new ones or if I wanted to watch some of my old favorites. And I ended up watching 3 new movies, new to me at least. I watched Creep and Creep 2, which were fantastic.
Creep is so scary.
Super fucking, I mean, like, the thing I love about the first one was, like, it takes a while before he actually does anything, like, really, like, menacing, but it's still incredibly creepy the whole time. Like, the whole scene of him in the bathtub, like, giving his son a tubby, or what did he call? Oh yeah, tubby, because he's in the tub. Yeah, and he's like pretending to play with his son in the tub, and having this guy videotape him naked in the tub, and oh my god,
there's something so unsettling about him, like from the beginning. I don't know, just like he
just has like a face that is just so. I feel bad for the guy because that's just his face. Like, he has such a creepy looking face, but like it works so well for this movie, and he's amazing.
Is Creep 2 as good as Creep 1? Or
Creep? I think Creep 2 it was like way better actually, because it's the perfect like idea for a sequel, which is this lady who is like struggling to like make enough money to survive, and she's been making this web series called Encounters, where she films like all of her like craziest like dates in the online dating scene. And so this is like her last episode because she's gonna stop making the series because no one's watching it. And the guy calls her in to make a documentary about him and he tells her he's a serial killer. He's killed like however many people, and she doesn't really believe him at first. And still, like, obviously there's a ton of red flags going on. But there's this great scene where she's like in the bathroom and she's like, okay, I have all of my red flags are going up, but this is the perfect specimen for my show. Do I continue or do I fucking run the fuck away? And she gets in deep. And it's really, her performance is fantastic. Desiree Akhavan is incredibly as good as Mark Duplass is. Again, she is, I think, even better. Like, her performance is so good, and her just like continuing to like every step of the way that you're thinking like, no, she has to. This has to be the moment where she's like, okay, I can't keep doing this, and she goes even further, and it's like, holy shit, where is it gonna stop? And it's so good. It's so good.
That makes me want to check out Creep 2.
Yeah.
Definitely would recommend it. It's really good. And the other found footage movie that I finally got into was VHS.
Oh, yay!
I enjoyed, I won't say liked, because some of them are, I don't know, really weird.
I think he is more tight.
Yeah, I enjoyed all of them except for one, which was the couple that's on vacation, and then like they're being followed by like some person, and they don't know what's going on, and then you see like the person comes into their hotel room and like videotapes them and then like steals from them and shit. And then at the end it turns out that like this person was a woman, and she was in it with the wife all along, and they like kiss at the end. And she like, but the person just like kills the husband and then kisses the wife, and that's the end. And it's like, that's I mean, it would be a really good act one, but like I wanted so much more from that. But the rest of them I really liked. It was weird. The overall premise was kind of weird. Like, why is this old man dead in the fucking chair in front of all of these VHS tapes, and what is that?
A curse there.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a curse.
Like I like the one like in the forest where the chick brings the people with the kids to a lake, and that like weird pixelated killer that you can't see for some reason. That was pretty cool. And I like the haunted house at the end too, where they go to this house that they think is a haunted house, and it's an actual haunted house. Yeah. That was fun. So yeah, I enjoyed most of them. So that was my found footage day. After that, I had a Stephen King day, which was good. I watched In the Tall Grass, which I really liked. I liked that it was like,
I saw that
at the beginning, it kind of felt like it might be a little bit of a one-trick pony, but then it starts getting into like how time is messed up in this place, and like how everyone comes in at different times and leaves at different times, and like comes back around and all this stuff. So I liked that one. And
That's
then
on Netflix, right?
Huh?
That was on Netflix.
That's on Netflix. Yeah, I think it's a Netflix original. It's based on a novella by Stephen King and his son Joe Hill.
Like his literal clone. It's not.
Yeah.
So we watched a Creep Show.
Yeah.
Which Joe is in, and he plays a little kid who gets a voodoo doll at the end of the movie and uses it on his dad. And then Stephen King wrote all of the horrors in the anthology.
Nice.
And he has a small role.
He has a part in one
where he plays like a hillbilly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very Stephen King.
An extremely Stephen King-esque performance and writing. It's just so funny. But,
and we watched it for Creepy Crawly's Day.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because the last segment they have has just like thousands of cockroaches.
Oh, God.
And it's horrifying.
I'm going to share a creepy story to horrify our listeners. So I told Steven, I discovered Creepshow when I was in college, and I was like flicking through channels. I like traumatized myself a lot before streaming platforms, you know, because you'd be like up late at night, flicking through channels, and something horrible would come on, you're like, ah! So I horrified myself with the short, and the short is called They're Creeping Up on You, I think is what, the formal title of that last short. And so, you know, it's the 80s, so they used real cockroaches. There were 20,000 cockroaches.
Oh my God.
So first creepy story about that segment is, one, they didn't want to pay to buy cockroaches because it was actually very expensive. It was 50 cents a cockroach, and they didn't have the budget. So they went to Trinidad, one of my home countries, yes, and they have caves in Trinidad with bats, and the cockroaches are all littered on the ground. They eat the food that the bats drop in the guano.
Oh my God.
What they would do is they would go into the cave with a light. They wouldn't see a roach. Then they would just dig a hole. They would turn the light off, and within 5 minutes, that hole was full of cockroaches to the brim. And then they would just scoop them up in buckets, take them with them to America for this movie. Now, my other creepy story about this is they then obviously had to put all the cockroaches in this room. They built this room to, you know, the set to have the cockroaches in so they could film it. And the thing about roaches is they hate the light. So they would pour the roaches in the room, and within minutes, you couldn't see the roaches barely, because they had found their way into every crevice of every piece of furniture, every prop, everything they could hide behind. And in fact, the building that they filmed in, I learned this, the people that took any props home infested with roaches. They were supposed to exterminate the roaches after the movie filmed, but the roaches managed to, obviously many roaches managed to hide. So if they brought any props home, they opened up roaches. And
God.
and within that building where they filmed this movie, there are probably still the descendants of the roaches that are in that movie. So
Holy shit.
yeah, like so everything about that sequence is just terrifying to me. And the more I learn about it, the more I'm just like, oh no, I would not have been able to be on that set. It would have been my
Oh my God.
literal nightmare.
That's super fun. It kind of reminds me of like, isn't there like the scene in Candyman
Yes.
where the covered in bees, and those are real bees. I read they're like real. I think they're like devenomized or something, because otherwise like they could kill you with that many bees. But that they had to have like real, like the guy was like getting them in his mouth and shit. Like it's super gross. That for me, like, because I have like a pathological fear of bees, because I was told at a very young age that I'm allergic to bee stings and I could die if I get stung by a bee. So I have this like pathological fear of bees, wasps, hornets, whatever, anything that flies and like hovers and will sting you. I am super terrified of. So that super creeps me out. Super hard.
Roaches are the last buck. I can put up with a lot, but like roaches, there's something psychological in me. I'm pretty sure I have a phobia, because they just make me psychotic. Like I can't deal with them. Steven.
Yeah.
We watched a lot of movies with creepy crawlies. On top of Creepshow, we watched Squirm, which was horrible.
So gross.
It's about worms.
It's an awful movie, but it's also disgusting.
And it's about like basically like they like a down power line hits wet swamp, and so killer worms come up and start eating people.
That's their entire premise. Something electrocutes the worms, and they all get mad about it and start eating everyone. The whole film.
And that's available on Tubi if you just want to kill brain cells.
It's
Nice.
so silly.
We also watched one of Dani's favorite movies ever, Slugs,
Oh, slugs.
about killer slugs,
Again.
Ugh.
which has one of the best lines in all of movie history,
Yep.
which is,
So you have to understand the context. The slugs are everywhere. And this man goes to the director of health and he's like, you've got to shut down all the sewage lines or something.
yes,
You've got to shut everything out because the slugs are going everywhere and they're going to eat everyone and it's a problem and they're breeding too much. And then the guy's like, we're not doing anything of the sort. And then the guy's like, if you don't do it, I'm going to do it. I'll figure out a way. And then all of a sudden the guy just goes, you don't have the authority to declare happy birthday. You don't have the authority to declare happy birthday. I think that's one of the best written lines ever. Some would call it the worst. I think it's one of the best written lines.
that's
ever
how you
written in
cut
the
down
history of
people,
film.
okay?
Exactly.
Declare happy birthday.
Before I die in my life, I want to look at someone and say, you don't have the authority to declare happy birthday. Seriously. Completely seriously. I really do.
Yes.
That's how they need to indict Trump.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that.
If I was there in the government right now, and after they indicted Trump, I would look at him and he'd be like, I'm going to the authority. I was the president. I would literally be like, you don't have the authority to declare happy birthday, sir. Boom!
Slugs was also on the Tubi app. And then we also watched Arachnophobia from 1990, which It is so much better than I remember.
Yeah?
I give people credit now.
I think it's because you remember there's something trying to be serious, but it's really a comedy.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
So the fact that they don't take it so seriously, it does lend itself to like being more.
It's just that when you're younger and you watch horror movies, you're like, this isn't scary. It sucks.
Yeah, right.
But no, it's pretty creepy, yeah. And it plays on like small town mentality because Jeff Daniels is like the new young doctor coming in from the city, and the older doctor guy like believes everything should be one way, and the small town, and they don't trust newbies, and so it kind of like plays from there. But yeah,
it's got a really good hero's journey. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Nice.
Crawley's Day.
Yeah.
That was for Creepy Crawley's Day. So the other thing I watched for my Stephen King Day was I rewatched The Shining for, I don't know, probably the third or fourth time, I guess. And I don't know. I don't think anything really jumped out at me this time around, except, just, it's just a great movie.
Have you seen Dr. Sleep?
No.
I haven't seen it yet.
I think you'd like Dr. Sleep. I like Dr. Sleep a lot.
The one thing that does stand out for me, not about The Shining the movie necessarily, a couple years ago I read the book of The Shining, and like The Shining the movie is like, to me, one of the best movies that's ever probably, and I was blown away that the book is still so much better somehow than the movie. Oh my God, the book is
I read it years ago, and I remember how good it was.
And it's so like it's pretty fucking incredible that Stanley Kubrick was even able to adapt. I mean, adapting Stephen King is really fucking hard to do. The stuff that he writes does not translate well to the screen. Because it's laughable in a lot of cases. Like, it's just like weird stuff that doesn't really, it's hard to translate. Like, and that's part of the reason that the book is so much better. There's that scene with the hedge animals, like getting closer and closer, and like if you made that if you put that on screen, people would laugh.
Yes.
People would laugh. Like the sculpture just keeps getting closer and closer. That would be like fucking hilarious. But in the book, it's fucking terrifying.
It's terrifying. And
it's amazing how difficult it is to adapt Stephen King.
I think the thing about Stephen King is the issue becomes that there's every one of his characters, not all of his books are the best, like in terms of like he has varying levels of quality in his stories, because sometimes I think it's something he's a capable writer, he's an excellent writer. I just think sometimes his premises don't stick as well for me as some others. But when he's at his best, it's just all of his characters have such a rich internal journey.
Yeah.
So much of the fear that you experience is viewing it from the character's sort of kind of mental falling apart of what's going on around them. That's really difficult to translate in a visual medium.
Yeah, it really is.
Like, even in The Shining, like you said, there's so much more kind of stuff about the abuse of Dani from his father, Jack, and like what he deals with, which I actually kind of think that Dr. Sleep succeeds at portraying. Funnily enough, and I think that's because Mike Flanagan directed it, and Flanagan is really excellent at capturing emotional and horror journey at the same time.
Yeah, clearly.
We recently just watched Haunting of Bly Manor, and like like we said last episode, I called it Soror because it's sad horror. But it's just he's really good at making you really sort of emotionally involved and heartbroken, and also terrified at the same time. So I think I Dr. Sleep to kind of see that. But yeah, like you said, it's just really, Stephen King is one of those people that, like, if you can, a lot of times, even in the best movies, they're able to capture the horror far more than the psychological kind of, deconstruction. Like, even the recent It, which I think is probably going to be the best adaptation of It they can get without doing like a full episodes, like show, like a full.
Yeah, they have to do a fucking long ad. Like that book is basically an anthology.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so many stories
But
that you need to tell to get the context of everything.
I think Andrew Machete did the best that he could, and even then, it's just like it doesn't compare to the emotional journey of that story on paper, on text. It's just so different, and yeah, just that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he gives so much background information into the characters' lives. I'm reading Desperation right now, and like, I've read like 150 plus pages of that book, and like so far, all that's actually happened in the story is that he's like captured these people and put them in jail cells. The rest of it is just everybody's backstory. And like, you can't get that from a movie. Like, you would be there for like 7 hours if you tried to get all of that into a movie.
Yeah.
So like, it ends up that a lot of, and I think that's a good point. Like, a lot of Stephen King movie adaptations end up sort of soulless for that reason. Like, you're not really sure why you should care about like some of these things sometimes, because like it's scary and everything, but you don't get the fullness of the journey. I think it's easier with some of her shorter books. Like the two Pet Sematary movies are both really good, I think. Especially the recent one I really, really liked with John Lithgow and I forget who else, but I thought it was really...
We were like, eh. Steven didn't like it.
Really? I really like
I hate the dad. That guy is the worst actor.
The dad?
I hate that actor.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not great, but like, I feel like that story, that adaptation captured the kind of like essence of that story being about.
It was a pretty successful adaptation. I think so. I think it did.
Yeah, and like Carrie's another. That's a short one.
Yeah.
And that's like a very simple concept and easy to kind of render on screen. So it's, it's easy to make it more effective.
It's easy. It's also easier to translate that story because it's essentially about like bullying and mean girls and pervert. So yeah, there's a lot. The concepts are a lot simpler to kind of translate because it's almost kind of like sometimes Stephen King adaptations work better when there's already that existing cinematic shorthand for the audience.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes his concepts are just foreign to them. You know what I mean? Like they haven't experienced it yet on film in a way that they can kind of like, I get this. But like Carrie is easy because we all know movies about religious fanatics, girls who can move stuff with their minds, and bullying bitchy teenagers. So it's like, okay, we get all
Misery. That. Misery is another one. That somebody kidnapping a fucking someone that they love because they did something that they don't like, and that's easily.
It's like cinematic shorthand. We get it.
Yeah, for sure.
What else is left on your list, D-Rock?
All that's left for me. Today's Witch Day, so I think I'll talk about that next week because I'm not done with Witch Day. But the last thing I had was yesterday. I had Alien Day. And I'm sure you'll be happy to talk about this. I watched The Thing yesterday, which is amazing, just as amazing as everybody told me it was. So good.
Awesome.
It's my first time, yeah. Yeah, I really, really liked it. It wasn't really what I expected in terms of like, there's a lot of graphic stuff, like especially like with the monsters and stuff. I expected it to be more
psychological,
subdued and psychological in a way, I guess. But it's like fucking Monster City. It's great. I loved it.
My favorite part of the movie is how all the characters just like have to deal with like the insanity of what's going on. You know what I mean?
Right.
And how that makes their
No, and
persona shine through.
And I have to say, I still to this day, no matter how many times I've watched that movie, I never completely remember the order in which people turn into the Thing. And I think a testament to how good that movie is. I can remember certain transformations, but I can never really remember the order. Like it's funny, but I really do every time I watch it. And I remember hearing someone talk about that too. But and I think that's just such a great and if you rewatch it anytime soon, you'll see like even with a rewatch, there's things you miss. And then there's also just like there's
clues.
Not even. I don't think
there's
clues.
Sort of like the dog, like you learn stuff.
Well, yeah,
to watch out for, you know.
But I don't think that there's clues in like who exactly is the monster until it's revealed, and I think that's what kind of is successful for John Carpenter.
They do a good job of creating suspicion about everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
So that you can never really guess who it could be. I mean, they point to what's his name, the guy with the beard, like at the first person that gets accused or that gets like, he's kind of like, how long were you in the room with the dog? Yeah. And he never does turn into the Thing. He gets killed because he like tries to attack Mac and he shoots him in the head, and he tests his blood after and finds out that he's human. And I love that scene too with the testing the blood and where they test the one person's blood and it goes, they fucking like, he starts like getting all shaky.
That movie is just so excellent. Like, and I just think it's just such a unique premise. The idea of using like, oh, we're in the middle of Antarctica. There is nowhere for us to go. It's either here or frozen to death.
And it's a remake that's a total reimagining of the concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the 1950s, the Thing.
There's certain visual moments in that movie that just terrify me even now. Like, there's just like, I think for some reason, I don't know what it is. The one moment that freaks me out is when they find the spaceship and then they find the Thing. Like when they go to the Swedish outpost and they or the Norwegian, whichever Norwegian, thank you. When they go to the Norwegian outpost and they see the sort of excavation. They see the excavation.
No, because he keeps on calling him Swedish in the movie.
Oh, he does? So
he does, yeah.
Norwegian?
He keeps on calling him Swedish, and the guy keeps on correcting him. And
okay. Well, there you go. So you can see their excavation of the spaceship, and then like, 50, 60 feet from it, you see the excavation of the Thing. And like, I don't know why that freaks me out, because I'm just like imagining like what was crawling through the ice before it froze. Right. I love that moment. It just kind of like, I think it's a great visual cue to the testament of like how much this creature is going to struggle to survive. That it was trying to really claw itself out of where it was to do what, get captured, somebody adapt,
And they find that like the body that like the half of the face is like, the face is like halved and like all like weird. I love that. Yeah, the practical effects and like the prosthetics and or whatever, the design of like the monsters and stuff is like so creative, and like they did really well for like the time that it came out in to do all of those like crazy monster shop stuff.
I think they still hold up.
Rob Bottin did the effects, and he is a genius.
Yeah.
He just has a psycho imagination.
Nice.
That brought to the movie.
I think the Thing too is a really successful. It's got that Lovecraftian horror to it,
Yeah, that's totally.
Yeah, like the dynamics of this creature are unfathomable, and like it's like, what will it become, when it just is free to do whatever it wants? Like it just keeps transforming, and it's like I love it. I love that movie a lot.
I love the moment when Mac is talking into the recorder and he says, "None of us trust each other anymore," and then he stops it and he rewinds and records over it.
Mm-hmm.
That's so, it's such a little, it's like a little thing, but it's so cool. Just like he doesn't even want that on tape. And
Yeah.
it's just like the whole, I mean, it's such a genius plot device to just create this whole dynamic where nobody can possibly trust anybody else.
You know what? And then the doctor too. I love how the doctor just completely freaks out because of like he knows the implications of what would happen if this thing got on the mainland and
Right.
he loses it and he's like, nope, we all gotta die. We can't go anywhere. Like none of us can leave.
And the whole opening scene, I remember like when I first watched the opening scene, I was like, so like, what the fuck are they doing shooting at this fucking dog, this horrible people? How dare you? And then like by the time the scene is over, I was kind of like, wait a minute, this dog probably isn't what I think it is.
That's not a good boy.
But it's such an effective scene.
It is so
It's
effective.
because you have no idea what the fuck is going on, and they're just shooting at this dog. Like, what the fuck kind of people are
Exactly. And especially for like
these?
Americans.
And
Especially
they shoot at it. Oh shit! I'm getting like, okay, here we go.
pause.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and he keeps shooting at the dog, even when it comes up to a human and is like jumping up on it. He's like doesn't give a fuck about killing the people. He's just like, no, I have to shoot this fucking dog. And you're like, what the fuck is wrong with this? That's kind of the moment where you're like, wait a minute, is this really just a dog? Because if he really wants to kill this thing that badly, that he doesn't give a fuck about shooting people. But yeah.
But I love that scene because I think it completely plays on like American sensibilities.
Yes.
We're so dog crazy.
Yep.
Like that would immediately send us all into murder all these people. They're trying to shoot a puppy. Like
Exactly.
kill them. They're crazy.
And the moment when you discover that this dog is not what it seems is like so, it turns everything over in your mind. It's like, oh shit.
Maybe
Okay. Now I understand why those people were trying to kill this dog so bad. Like this is, I feel for those people now. I apologize that I was so hard on them before.
So me and Dani, we have watched, I have done some math, and we've watched over 50 horror movies so far
Holy shit.
in October.
Wow.
So I don't have time right now to talk about the 5 different ghost movies that we saw
Gotta do it next week.
on Ghost Day.
Yeah.
I don't have time to talk about all the 80s horror movies that we saw today, but I will give everyone the homework that they should go on to Hulu and they should watch Blood Diner from
Immediately.
1987.
Yes.
It is a very fun, very gory, very wild.
An Asian American female director in 87.
So awesome. That's like, yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
For sure.
It is fantastic.
I gotta check that out for
I
sure.
don't have time. Well, I'll just briefly end with this. So on Undead Day, we watched a movie called Night of the Comet that's available for free on Hulu. That is totally the inspiration for so many of modern pop culture. So
Oh, wow.
the movie starts off and it's about like this comet is passing Earth, very rare, and everyone's celebrating by having like comet watch parties. And then these 2 Valley Girl sisters end up not going to any watch parties. And everyone, when they wake up in the morning, everyone who was at a watch party has, it seems, turned into like red dust. And
Whoa.
everyone disappeared. And then there are some like zombie people running around. And they are like smart and they just want to like kill you. Right? And then slowly the film shows you like the symptoms of how you turn into a zombie.
When you're exposed to the radiation from the comet.
When you're exposed to the radiation after a while.
You slowly desiccate, essentially is what it is.
So like the Valley Girl heroes dressed as a cheerleader, totally inspired like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The plot lines that's going on just reeks of Lost and the Dharma Initiative.
Oh wow.
There's this like think tank that is hiding in a bunker, and they wear jumpsuits and they have a logo that's very similar to
the Dharma Initiative, yeah.
but it's like a maze.
Wow.
And they're trying to figure out what's going on with this virus. And it's just a really fun
It stars a young Robert Beltran of Star Trek Voyager.
fame.
Nice.
And apparently the director consulted with all of these teenage girls and asked them what they thought what they would do in the apocalypse. And a lot of the girls saw it as an opportunity to like go on an adventure. And the notes that they had for him made it into the script, where they're concerned with like who their boyfriend's going to be, like can they go to the mall and like take all the clothes they want and like live as lavishly as they want.
It's a very lighthearted. It's lighthearted with a very kind of dark premise in terms of the monsters. But yeah, it's really it's another one of those unique stories that for the time, 84, I think it's groundbreaking, because like the two women are never like, they're, you know, for the most part
They're capable, they're strong,
they're capable,
they save
and strong.
themselves.
They don't question like their abilities. They have, you know, the guy, they're just the relationship they have with Robert Beltran's character, and he's a Hispanic character. Hector, yeah. And like I think there's a lot going on in the story that's very progressive-ish, obviously,
Nice.
for the age of, but yeah, progressive-ish for the time period. And I completely see, when I was reading about the fact that Joss Whedon took inspiration for Buffy from the actress Kelly Maroney's character Sam, I'm like, oh yeah, I see it. Everything from the costume to the behavior to the way that she fought, like it was, you see it. And so it's kind of fun to see something like that that's kind of definitely known as a cult movie, but it influenced a lot of like our modern kind of storytellers.
Wow.
And the way the character's dialogue is like, just, it could totally work today.
Yeah.
Like all the dialogue could totally work today. Like the world is empty. Like people are joking about how like I called dibs on Texas and Hawaii. Like, you know, it's just really, really a fun movie, and that's available on Tubi.
Nice.
We have even more to watch before the month is done.
But
And then we might turn into a pumpkin.
slowly but surely.
Anything you're looking forward to in the week ahead? Couple days, couple particular themes.
Today was 80s Horror Day, so this was the day I was looking forward to most.
I was having a blast.
Nice.
I'm looking forward to, I believe the 30th or the 31st is All Hallows Eve is our theme.
Nice.
So looking forward to watching Hocus Pocus. It's still a looking forward to on my list.
The 31st, I have like a several-year-old tradition now. I always watch Rob Zombie's Halloween on Halloween, which is one of my favorite unsung, unloved horror movies. And I wrote like a whole thing about it on Vundablog, and I'll probably post it. But yeah, I think Halloween for me is probably going to be just like marathoning like the Halloween movies, and then hopefully finding some people to watch Rob Zombie's Halloween with. So that's what I did last year. And hopefully doing some Samhain ritual also. But I think I'm most looking forward this week to Sunday is Torture Day, which sounds funny to say that. Sunday's Torture Day. I can't wait for Torture Day. That's my favorite. But I'm going to watch the first two Hellraiser movies and Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Devil's Rejects. The only one I haven't seen is Devil's Rejects. And I don't know if have you guys seen Hellraiser 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so, I love that fucking movie. It's so completely flat out ridiculous.
I know, yeah. It's another one of those that goes into the pretty wild.
Yeah. I love movies that just go all the fucking way. Like the ending of The Last Exorcism just goes balls fucking out. I just love that so much.
That's good shit. hopefully, when you watch Hellraiser 2, you do not turn into a Cenobite.
Yeah.
You can check us out at Vundablog.com. Tweet us at Vundacast. Check out our dogs at Midnight Hounds for adorable dog pictures. I have been your host, Steven.
I have been Dani. What's up? Sorry.
D-Rock. Oh, and no, on Twitter. I'm Irreverend Scare Ick now. So that's my spooky Twitter name. So check me out. I'm at Bioponic on Twitter.
And remember, kids, if your father is Stephen King, there is probably 30% chance that you're going to become a horror writer when you grow up.
You know, actually, the Stephen King's daughter is a Unitarian Universalist minister.
Whoa.
Reverend Naomi King. Yeah.
Whoa, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you did an analysis of his spirituality and his writing after she became ordained, if you'd find a different theory, because he's developed his own mythologies for light and dark and stuff like that.
Right, for sure. Yeah.
Damn it!
That was one of the things I loved about it. It is one of my favorite theological horror works. So I did a whole sermon. It was good.
Damn it! There's a horrible ending now, Derek.
I know. Sorry. Off the rails.
I'm gonna end this like the Monster Squad, which I recently rewatched today, and say, "Remember, kids, we're the Vundacast. Boom, chicka, boom, boom, chicka, boom, chicka, boom, boom. Vundacast, and the forces of evil that run in hell."
Hail Vunda.
Hail Vunda.
Vundacast? Give it up for Vundacast, man. What an adorable name.
You're listening to the Vundacast.
What's up, everybody? This is Jason David Frank, Green Ranger. You're listening to Vundacast.
Subscribe to the Vundacast.